You are listening to the CWL podcast. Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Kate. I am the host of the Creative Women's League podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If this is your first episode, welcome. Super excited to have you. Today is an awesome episode. You're gonna freaking love it. I know it. I hope all of you hit that subscribe button so you can get our twice weekly podcast. Today, of course, is our interview episode. We do one every Wednesday with a badass creative woman business owner. And then Mondays, we do Mindful Monday. That's just a little short episode. We help get in the right mindset to kick ass all week long. It's great. This past week, we talked about finding your why, getting to the root of why you are doing what you're doing so it can help motivate you every step of the way, even when the really grumpy days come in. Or for me, when the alarm clock goes off at 6 a.m. and I think maybe I should just sleep a little longer. Thinking about my why very annoyingly pushes me. I'm not saying I love it. I'm just saying it's very effective. So go ahead and download all of our past episodes. We have some real gems back there. And of course, you can join in on the discussion. Creative Women's League on Instagram. That's where the more visual component of the podcast happens. And it also starts the community aspect of CWL. To finish up with that, you can head over to Facebook and search Creative Women's League. You'll see our Facebook page, which you can give a like, but you'll also see the Facebook group. Go join it. I can't wait to have you in there. When you join us, introduce yourself. Let us know what you're up to. I love meeting every single one of you. It's really cool. You guys have created an amazing, supportive community here, and you should be damn proud of yourselves. I'm proud of you. I know that. I think it's awesome. So if you are looking for a shout out on the podcast, the best way to get that is to head over to iTunes and leave us a review. Include your Instagram name so I can send people over to say hi to you, go follow you, all those wonderful things. Reviews are about the most important thing you can do for any podcast. It helps get them out into the world, get more eyes on them. So for a small podcast like this one, it is huge. I like to thank you for doing me a big favor by giving you a shout out right here. So I love this review this week. It is short and sweet. This one reads, "Excellent podcast, 5 stars. I love listening to your podcast." And that's from Foster Awesome. And that's it. That's all it says. I love it. Quick to the point. So thank you so much. As you can see, you don't have to wax poetic if you don't want to. Just get over there, leave a review, but don't forget your Instagram name so I can give you a shout out. Thanks again, guys. It means the world to me. Okay, let's get to the good stuff, shall we? Today, I get to talk to Tilly from Tilly and the Buttons. She is a phenomenal seamstress. She creates gorgeous books and patterns. Seriously, they're incredibly visually appealing because everything she does is so cute, but they're also detailed in a way that takes any of the intimidation out of sewing clothes. I will shut up now so that you can hear Tilly. Enjoy. Hi, Tilly. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Kate. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. We are having a fun day trying to record this episode, but we'll just roll with it, right?
We'll get there, I'm sure.
And I want to apologize to everybody. I'm in, there are major thunderstorms going on, so you might hear that in the background, but it could be really soothing, actually. The sound of the rain. Yeah.
Definitely. It'd be like being in a spa.
That's it. Yes. We're just playing that nice, relaxing track of thunder and rain in the background. So
yeah.
Well,
I've got a crazy man outside my window shouting expletives. So you've probably got the nicest soundtrack.
Do you really? Is that a real thing?
I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I live in Brixton in London. It's fun around here.
Well, yeah. I mean, hey, that's really exciting. Two different vibes. So you just said you're calling from London.
Yeah, that's right.
That's wonderful. Are you from London?
Sort of. I mean, I think I consider myself from London. I was born in Dorset, which is on the south coast of the UK, but then I moved up to London when I was still a child. So, yeah, pretty
Okay.
much.
Yeah, I've never been to London. I really want to go.
You've never been? Oh, you should come.
Yeah, I want to. I went to Scotland, but
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but I've never been.
Oh, Scotland's lovely.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned earlier to me on one of our failed recordings of this that you have family here in the US.
I do. Yeah, my brother. He up until last week he lived in Chicago, but he's just moved to California, and he's got a young family. So yeah, I do come over quite a lot.
Oh, that's great. Have you ever come to Florida?
When I was 7 years old, I went to Disney World.
Perfect. Well, once your little one gets older, I'm going to make you come visit again.
Oh, yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, because I'm always just trying to recruit people to come hang out at Disney World. So that's it.
That sounds quite fun.
So I am super excited to talk about your story. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Tilly Walnes, and I am the founder and director of a sewing pattern company called Tilly and the Buttons. And we make easy to use, gorgeous sewing patterns. And we do online workshops in how to make your own clothes. And I've written 2 sewing books as well. So we're a team of 5 at the moment, and we work from a really lovely office in South London.
So there's 5 of you at this point, but this started out as just you, correct?
Oh, yeah, it did. Yeah, it started out me sitting right here where I'm sitting right now, actually, because I'm at home today, in my spare room, doing everything myself. And then bit by bit have grown it to, the company that is today. Still small, but, it's growing.
Yeah, I love that. So when did you start sewing?
So I started sewing in 2009, completely on a whim. I went to the cinema to see. Have you seen the film Bright Star?
No.
It's a Jane Campion film, and it's about the love affair between John Keats and Fanny Brawne. And Fanny Brawne was a really accomplished seamstress, and in the film she makes these really stylish costumes. And the very opening shot, as the credits are rolling, is an extreme close-up of a needle going through some fabric, and she's sort of hand stitching a dress. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, I should try sewing, because I've sort of always liked kind of arty things, and I'm always dreaming up clothes in my head. So I'll give it a go. So I just signed up for a sewing class, and just completely fell head over heels in love with it. And from that point on, it was just all I could think about. And then I started a sewing blog, because at the time in the UK, I know it's a very different scene in the US, but in the UK at the time, sewing just wasn't a thing that people of my age did. So anytime I said to someone I made my own dress, or that's what I was doing this weekend, people just looked at me like I was completely bonkers. So I didn't know anyone else who was interested in it, and just wanted to share this passion with people. But I'd seen that there were people blogging about sewing online, so I just thought, maybe I'll start a blog, and it can connect me with these people, and we can chat about sewing and patterns and fabrics and things. And also I thought it would be a great way of documenting what I'm making, so it would keep me motivated to sew. So I started a blog, and bit by bit the blog grew a following, and then eventually I turned it into a business, which I'm sure we'll come on to.
Yeah. But so in those, those first dresses you're making and things like that, were you just addicted from the start, or were you ever
totally.
Yeah, okay. Because I've noticed sometimes people pick it up and put it back down, and then sometimes people, the second they touch that first bit of fabric, they're off, they're gone, they're ready to do it.
Yeah, it was as soon as I started to do it. I think I was just ready to do something creative again, because I was always really creative as a child, but then when I got to A level, I was told, you've got to give up all this arty stuff, so you'll never get a job. This was my mum, who had my best interests at heart,
yeah.
but she was worried that I wouldn't get a job because she'd gone to fashion college and I think struggled a bit, and said that I had to do more I don't know, safe subjects. I guess.
Something more marketable. Yeah.
So and then you kind of lose confidence a bit, I think, in creativity as a grown up. You're supposed to be more serious and not take risks so much and not have that sort of playful side that it takes to be artistic or creative, to make things. So and then I got into my career and everything, and then it just got to the point where I just felt like, I really want to do something with my hands again. I just want to make things. So I think it was the right time for me, and it was the right thing for me as well, because as I said earlier, I always liked designing dresses and making things. So it was just perfect.
So did your mom, you said that she went to fashion college. Did she do a lot of sewing while you were growing up?
She did, but she never taught me how to use the machine. It was always sort of like the Sunday night taking up hems, and because we were all really little, and doing curtains and boring things like that. It was, although she did make a couple of outfits for my teddies, but it was never sort of something. She never kind of made clothes for us or for herself or anything. But she started out as a knitwear designer, so she used to make knitwear patterns, and then actually her father and her grandfather were all in that sort of field. My great grandfather was a tailor, and my grandfather was in the rag trade. He like sold coats and Hackney Market. So it was always sort of, I guess, vaguely in the blood, just sort of simmering away.
That's amazing. That's so cool. It's like you're coming from a long line of people who are not just making with their hands, but making clothes and tailoring clothes with their hands. Making them or selling them or or designing them. So watching that movie, was that the first time where you considered you wanted to, kind of join the ranks and start sewing for yourself?
Yeah, it was completely. I have happy memories of when I was a child, and if we used to come up to London, my mum would always take me to the V&A, and I would always lie on the floor in the museum sketching the clothes. V&A is a beautiful museum here. That's got a lot of costume history. So I always loved sort of drawing clothes, but it was the first time where I really thought that I wanted to actually make them myself.
I love it. So how many years were you sewing for yourself and even doing like a blog before you realized, oh wait, I could start a business out of this?
I'm not sure exactly. It was maybe sort of 4 or 5 years, something like that. There was never one point where I thought I want to start a business. It was a gradual sort of unfolding, really. Because what happened was on the one hand, I was sort of using my blog to share that what I was learning about sewing and then to share my knowledge, because I wanted to help other people get into sewing. So a lot of people kept saying to me, people who read my blog and then just people I knew kept saying, I'd really love to get into it, but I don't really understand sewing patterns and I don't understand how to thread a machine or where to start. So I just thought, I'll just break it down on my blog and do it show people step by step how to get into it and write some blog posts. So I started doing that, and then that became really popular. So I think that was sort of an idea of, I could make something more of this. And then on the other hand, after a few years, I went to London College of Fashion, where I did some courses in pattern cutting, and started making sewing patterns for myself. And my readers were saying, "Oh, we'd love to make these as well. Could you share the patterns?" So I turned one of the patterns into a PDF download that people could just download from the blog and make. And just on that first day, thinking, wow, okay, sold quite a lot of these.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll make another one. And then it all kind of just evolved from there. But there was never one point where I was like, right, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to quit my job. And it was like it took me quite a long time to pluck up the courage to say, okay, I'm going to do this full time now, and I'm going to quit my job. I did it bit by bit.
I like that. I love hearing the people who it kind of just gradually happened, because I do think a lot of us creative ladies feel like there's got to be this big aha moment and then you dive right in.
Yeah, totally. Or that you have to, exactly. You have to put everything into it. You have to do it full time and get investment and have a team and have an office and all that. But you don't. I mean, I was doing it around a full-time job, evenings and weekends. And then as I started to build up income, I dropped down to part-time at work. And then it was only when the business was making enough to sustain me, and sort of replacing my salary, that I thought, okay, I can leave now and actually do this, because it's really scary, and you have to know that there is a market for what you're doing, and you have to try it out. You have to test the waters, because you're never really going to know until you start doing it. And it can take a while to sort of tweak things and get to the point where it's that what you're doing is working.
Yeah. And I think that, I feel like, and maybe this isn't correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you really made yourself a market out there because you did your patterns so different from anybody else.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, Kate.
Yeah. Well, you did, and I know you write it in like on your bio on your website, but your patterns are not typical sewing patterns in that they very much help you through them.
Yeah, well, I think that's because of where I was coming from. I think because I got into sewing relatively late in my life, I was always thinking from the point of view of that person who was like me coming at it for the first time. Because in the UK, a lot of people of my generation just have never had any sewing lessons whatsoever. Right. Or if they had, it was like really basic. It's not something we generally do at school, or there isn't much of a culture of being taught by your parents over here. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. And the other thing was that, because of my other job, like my whole career was in designing training courses. So I was sort of thinking from the point of view of that from the sort of learning point of view of how can I make these accessible to people, and how can I inspire and encourage more people to get into them. So I just thought, well, I'm not going to assume that people understand, what understitching is, or even what a seam allowance is, because a lot of people don't. So I just sort of decided to write in plain English and to give lots of tips, and just to be really encouraging, and also, instead of using the technical diagrams that most sewing patterns use, a lot of people said to me that they didn't understand them, especially beginners. So I replaced them with colour photos of the steps, so you can see what the project actually looks like as you're making it. And also it means that once you open up the pattern, the booklet inside looks really pretty. So it's not that you're just, because I think a lot of sewing patterns, they have a lovely cover, and then you open it up and it's like, oh, it's this sort of black and white bit of paper, which is fine. It's, it serves a purpose. But I wanted to, if you're into sewing, you're into colour and pretty things and style, and I thought, I want the sewing patterns on the inside to look as beautiful as the fabrics and the notions that are on your sewing table.
And they do. And I really feel that, because I quilt and I sew, but I've always been nervous to take the step into doing clothing because I feel like,
really?
Yes, because I feel like a lot of those patterns are intimidating. They do just, it's like you just have to be ready to just dive in and like throw yourself to like, okay, I'm probably going to have to stitch that 3 or 4 times because I don't really know what that means. But your patterns aren't like that.
Yeah, it is a shame that a lot of patterns are like that. But yeah, you should just give it a go. Just start. And what's the worst that can happen?
I know. I keep telling myself that. I'm like, forget it. You've ruined worse than that piece of fabric. So that's fine.
Yeah. It's usually that first garment where you have an aha moment. I remember when I made my very first dress on the first course I did, and you haven't really thought before about how fabric comes together to create a 3D form. So I was literally about to sew the armpits together until someone said to me, no, your arm needs to go through that. Like, oh, yeah. We were just talking about this in the office yesterday. We get a lot of emails from people saying this front piece and the back piece, they aren't exactly the same width. So there's something wrong with it. And it's like, no, if it's like pajamas, for example, the back, you've got your booty, you need volume there. It's not, the paper doesn't have to lie flat on top of each other. Just piece the edges together and you'll create this 3D form. And it's things like that, like just getting your head round how a garment comes together is probably the most challenging thing. And then once you've done that, you'll be completely away and you won't look back.
I've heard that too. Between you and Elisa Lex from By Hand London, and have you guys cheer me on. Yeah. Because, and it is different because I come from a quilting background. So things are flat, right? You want it all to lay flat. And the flatter it lays, the better you have done. But if I have a dress that now is totally 2-dimensional like that, like it makes sense. You got to think about things going around your body now.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's also, I feel like there's sewing patterns for our generation because we look at YouTube tutorials, we look at blog tutorials, and so that's a lot less intimidating to look at. The way that you lay things out.
Yeah, exactly. And we do online workshops as well, so you can follow along with basically video lessons. So it's a bit like going to a sewing class, but it's doing it from your own home. So you don't have to go anywhere. You do it in your pajamas whenever it suits you, and you can watch the lessons as many times as you want and rewind them. And because the camera is showing close up on the sewing machine, you can see exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So I think that makes it a lot easier for people as well.
They're wonderful. When did you start doing the workshops and the video classes?
So I started doing them in 2015. So we did face-to-face workshops before then, but then in 2015, that's when we did our first online one. And we've got 5 of them at the moment. So there's one for absolute beginners called Make Friends with a Sewing Machine, which literally is people who are too scared to get their sewing machine out of the box. So it shows you things like how to turn it on, how to thread it, and then, just like basic stitching and the absolute essentials. And then you make this little headscarf just to build people's confidence. And also it's just a great resource you can turn back to if something's gone wrong with your machine or you want to find out how to clean it, things like that. And then some of them are a lot more advanced. So, for example, there's one on how to make a shirt and shirt dress.
That's so fantastic. So, and I don't mean to jump all around here. Did it go patterns, books, online workshops?
It went, patterns, books. Patterns and workshops.
Okay.
Books, online workshops. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. At what point did it feel like it was time for you to publish your own book? How did that come about?
So that started, when was it? It was about, I think it was 2012, it must have been 2013. And I had a couple of different publishers approach me who had read my blog and thought that I could write a book about sewing. And they were both sort of had quite different ideas of where it was going to go, and for different reasons they both sort of didn't quite work out. But I thought, oh, this could actually go somewhere. So I got a literary agent on board, and she said to me, forget about those two. What book do you want to write? And write a proposal and I'll pitch it to people. So that's what happened. Yeah.
I love it.
So my first book was called Love at First Stitch, and it was basically a dressmaking for beginners. So it was the book that I wish I had had when I started making my own clothes. So it takes you from the basics of threading a sewing machine right through all the steps to create lots of different kinds of garments that you've made yourself. And it's structured a bit like a sewing course in a book, but project based. So rather than having loads of theory at the beginning, you learn as you're making things. So you start with a really simple headscarf, pajama bottoms, and each chapter takes you through making a project and teaches you just the skills you need to make that project. So you're sort of getting the satisfaction of making a thing and learning at the same time.
Yeah.
And then it just sort of builds up. So you're learning lots of different techniques, and by the end you're doing buttonholes and gathering on a sort of Chelsea collar blouse, and you're doing a lined bodice on a fit and flare dress. Things like that. And then my second book has just been published, so that was in spring 2018, and it's called Stretch, Make Yourself Comfortable Sewing with Knit Fabrics. And that's kind of like the next step, really. It's all about sewing with knit fabrics, so things like jersey, sweatshirting, sweater knits, stretch velvet. So it's all about the techniques that you need to handle stretchy fabrics, and lots of tips and tricks for sewing with them. And then again, there's lots of patterns included, so you can make lots of really comfortable clothes that you wear every day.
And you have such a cute sense of style. Like, it's such a Tilly look to things, I feel like, because it's that kind of like sort of a vintage sensibility about modern clothes.
Yeah, well, I really like 60s and 70s styles, but I'm not really into sort of like vintage.
Yeah.
But I like things to look modern, but with a little sort of hint of 70s denim or 60s mod dresses, that sort of thing.
So what does it feel like to put a book out in the world? Is that a scary moment? Is that pure excitement?
I think with anything, it's a bit of both. It's it's anticipation, because you work so hard on something for so long, and you don't know how it's going to be received. But yeah, it's really exciting. It is really exciting. It's lovely to have the finished product in your hand, and the best bit is just seeing what people make with the patterns in it. So it's it's just been overwhelming, really. It's just seeing the response has just been so amazing. It's great. It's really great.
I hear from a lot of women who will say, like, I shouldn't be scared about this next step because I did this. So, like, example would be, I've had a blog for a long time. I shouldn't be scared about writing a book. But I think that doesn't make sense. Like, I think we're always going to be a little nervous about the next step and the next exciting adventure.
Yeah, well, it would be boring if you weren't, wouldn't it? Because you need that little adrenaline rush, don't you? You need the nerves to ensure you do a good job, and you need that rush of excitement. It's a bit like Bruce Springsteen. I think someone asked him in an interview once whether he got nervous going on stage. I'm totally paraphrasing here because I can't remember exactly what he said, but I vaguely remember him saying, no, I don't get nervous. I feel my heart starts beating faster, and I get a little bit sweaty, and my mouth goes dry, and I know that I'm getting ready to go out and play and give everyone a really good show. And I just thought that's such a good way of thinking about things when you get nervous about something, because it's really exciting, because it's something you really want to do. So whether that's going for a job interview and you really, really want the job, or you're doing a talk and you are really looking forward to it and you really want to share your passion, or any project, like embarking on a sort of business endeavor or anything, you kind of want that rush of nerves in a way. And if you don't have it, I think life would be a little bit boring.
Yeah, I really like, that's a good mental shift to take. Like, I've also heard that your body doesn't know the difference between like fear and excitement. It's just how you perceive it. Yeah, because like, that's a perfect example. What the boss just said. It's the exact same thing as fear as excitement. Your heart races, your palms get sweaty, and it's all in how you interpret it and, you know, plug that energy into the world.
Yeah, exactly. It's how you channel that energy. You could channel it into shaking and running away, or you could channel it into putting on a really great show.
Yes. I feel like with, once again, tell me if I'm way off base here, but I feel like with everything you've created so far, from hearing what you said today, especially, it seems like you're making things that the resources you wish you would have had, which is awesome. And everything is so cute. Like, you've made everything so visually appealing that it's hard not to stay engaged. Were those conscious decisions on your part?
Yeah, I guess they were. Yeah, I do like things to look nice.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they were because I just want things in general, I want what we do to be accessible and inspiring, and to give people a joyful experience of making their own clothes. I want people to get as much fun and satisfaction from sewing as I have had, and just to make the world that little bit nicer.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think you're 100% achieving it. Just so you know.
Thank you.
From an outsider standpoint, it's going great. So,
thanks, Kate.
Of course. And then you take this venture that's you know, writing books and doing this blog and creating your patterns. At what point do you say, I need more help in here, and you start to hire people on?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think, well, for me, I did it once. I sort of could have used help right from the beginning, to be honest. I was just working all hours, basically cancelled my social life, didn't have time to have a shower, just like sat in my pajamas working the whole time. So yeah, definitely could have used help earlier, but I waited until there was enough income coming into the business that I could actually sustain someone's salary, and took someone on part-time initially. And I think it gets to the point where you realize that there's lots of things that you're doing that really you don't need to be the one doing those things. And if you just sort of set aside some of the income from your business, it is scary, because it feels like, well, there isn't a lot left for me, or there isn't a lot less for paying for other things. But you've just got to think of it as an investment, and it does just sort of free up your own time to create new things, and to create new products or services, or to do the marketing and the things that are then going to help to grow the business.
Yeah, I think that we all get very nervous about that. We go, well, crap, what am I going to do to have somebody have an employee? That's crazy. But I think the smallest thing you said is so important. You took them on part-time.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, you don't have to suddenly have a big team, or even have someone working full-time. Like, you can have someone 2 days a week, or, I know a lot of people hire a virtual assistant for a few hours a week, and just taking those small steps. And you've got to think in the end, like, what is your time worth? Yeah. And are you really spending your time doing the things that are really going to bring in the money and help grow and sort of pay for everything? And could you have someone who's sort of doing some of that work, that's then, going to ease up your workload so you can create more value?
Yeah, because I think we all get like, well, I've got to be the one to do it. But do you really have to be the one to, I don't know, send back that email, or send out, if you're making something by hand that you're sending out to people, do you really have to be the one to package it?
Exactly. I mean, I'm the worst offender for this. I still do it. I still do a lot of stuff in the business that I really shouldn't be doing. But I just, you often think, oh, it's just quicker if I do it rather than explaining it to someone else, or only I can do it to a good enough standard, which just isn't true. It's not true.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
The sooner you realise that, the better.
I had a friend who was in the military and then was leaving the military, and she was very, when she was training the next person for her position, she was very, critical of them and very, you have to do this and you have to do this. And one of her superiors looked at her and said, the army existed before you. And it's going to continue. And I always think of that when I get really hardcore about something and I'm like, oh, you got to do this. I'm like, oh no, these things will go on. Like this can go on without me particularly.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was the timeline like? Just like a brief overview of from when you started to when you started hiring a team.
Okay, when did I start hiring a team? I think so. I sort of, as I said earlier, I did everything bit by bit. So I had a blog for a few years, and then the first thing I did sort of business-wise actually brought money in was to have some adverts on my blog. So then that brought a little bit in. Then I started selling the PDF patterns, and that brought a little bit more in. Then I got a book deal, and that was the point where I quit my job. And then I think it was just a few months after that, or very shortly after that, that I took on my first part-time employee.
Okay.
Oh no, hang on. No, that's not true. I'm just thinking about it. It's not true at all. I think it was the next year. It was the year after. So I just finished writing the book and had been working on the printed sewing patterns, and I was doing all of that from home. Yeah, I remember now, because the printer came round and said something about how I was a cottage industry, and I thought, right, I'm going to show them I'm not a cottage industry.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
I love it.
But so it was about a year after I had quit my job and was doing it full time myself that I took on someone part time. And the first thing she did, it was mainly to do customer service emails, which were taking a long time, and like sending out orders and all those things that did not have to be me. And then the team grew gradually from there. So then after that, she started doing more things and became full time, I think.
Yeah.
Or at least more part time, or worked more. And then we had who was next? I think then we got a pattern cutter next, and she who also sewed the sample garments and did all the fitting and things like that. And then we got a sort of office manager person to do lots of sort of admin and management of stuff. And then we got an assistant. Yeah.
I love it. I just like to see these timelines on things, because sometimes I get emails about it all the time from women.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where they feel like I get two different kinds of emails. Either people who are long past the point where they should have hired some help, and they just can't. They just physically can't bring themselves to do it. And I also get women who are at just the start, and they feel like, well, these people have teams and they've got this and they've got that. And I go, yeah, but how many years has Tilly put into this? How many years has any of our guests that have been on the show put into this? It's a slow build, like you said.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I was just thinking about this morning. You know how people say you've got the same number of hours in the day as Beyonce? And then if anyone says that, you'll always then get other people going, well, Beyonce's got a whole team of people working for her. And it's like, well, that's not the point. The point is she didn't start out having that team of people.
Exactly. Yeah.
She's got that team now because she's really successful. But yeah, you've got to put in the work at the beginning. And I do think in general, you probably will have to just work all hours and go over capacity. until it gets to the point where you're like, I really, really need someone and I can afford to pay them. And yes, you don't want to hire someone and then have to let them go or just be stressing out about how you're going to pay them.
Of course,
every month. Yeah, but I mean, you know, I haven't nailed it or anything because I know I need someone else now. Because I've got a 6-month-old baby, so I'm only technically working 1 day a week when his daddy looks after him, and that is not enough time to run a business.
Yeah.
At the moment, I'm thinking I really need someone sort of at a senior level who can do a lot of the sort of business logistics, admin, finance, stuff like that, so I can create the products, because I just don't have time to do it at the moment. Yeah. But yeah, it's scary. Every time you want to hire someone new, it is scary. It's not like I've got a team, so everything's all sorted. It's not at all. It's an ongoing process. Hiring one person isn't going to solve everything.
That absolutely makes sense, for sure. So, and I like what you said about the Beyonce thing, because I just heard a quote, don't compare your beginning to somebody else's middle.
Yeah.
And we do that a lot. I mean, I do it by accident all the time. I'm like, look where they are. Look what they're doing. And I'm like, yeah, look how many years they put into that. So, yeah.
But I love doing that. I know there's a lot of talk, especially on Instagram, about comparisons and, you know, don't follow people who are going to make you feel bad because they're successful and all this stuff. I love following people who are successful because it just gives me a kick up the bum, you know, to do things like I love following people like Zoella and just seeing her gorgeous bathroom. Yes. And it just makes me think, I want a gorgeous bathroom.
I want a gorgeous bathroom.
Good for her. You know, good for her. She's bossing it. And, you know, I want to follow people like that because it's inspiring.
And I think, once again, I think there's an underlying theme here. Channeling. How are you channeling that feeling of, God, that bathroom's awesome? If you're going to let it make you feel like crap and you're going to go sit in your crappy bathroom and cry, well, that's not a good use of your time. But if you see that gorgeous bathroom and you think, okay, I'm going to work a little harder today so that one day I've got that great bathroom.
Exactly.
Yeah, all about how you actually interpret the things you're taking in.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Oh, we're going on some good topics today, Tilly. So, you said you had a background in creating tutorials. What was that?
Training courses.
There we go.
Yeah, I used to work in the film industry and I started out working for the British Film Institute and then for an organisation called the Independent Cinema Office. And basically my job was designing training courses. So looking at what the skills shortages were in the independent cinema sector and film festivals, and then designing training courses to meet those needs. So I'm completely in my element when I get to start putting together a course. That's just what I love. It gets my heart racing a little bit faster, and
that's fantastic. It's so cool that I love when people can take I guess I could call it their like day job skills. I don't want to make it sound bad in any way, but I like when people take the career that they had before and it just adds so much depth to their own projects. Yeah. That is fantastic. So now you've got your little one.
I do.
What's your little one's name? Can I know that? Jonah. Oh, how sweet. So is this your first child?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's my first.
And we talk a lot about, I'm not a mom, but we talk a lot about how motherhood and being a badass creative business owner, what an interesting juxtaposition, dichotomy, whatever that is together. Has it changed the way you've looked at your business?
It has, I guess, just in the sense, mainly just because I think, oh my God, I don't have time to do anything.
Yeah.
I've got to run this in a more efficient way and I've got to delegate more and I need more help. and all those things. Yeah. In that sense it has. And then also because I have one day when I go into the office, on that day I am just mega efficient on it, bish bash bosh, this, and if I have 10 minutes at home, if he's having a nap or something, I'm just sort of get on it, and it makes you sort of I guess not worry about things that aren't important.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I mean, you certainly now see the most important thing, which is this cute little Jonah.
Yeah.
And then also, I love that it's helping make you more efficient on that one day, because I'm guessing it's because you don't get another one, and you don't necessarily want to take another one away from him.
Well, exactly. It's like there's that, I can't remember what the law is, but one of those laws that you fill the time allocated to any kind of task or anything. So if you've only got an hour to do, or even 10 minutes to do something, you will do it in 10 minutes, and it might take someone else who's not quite so busy like half a day to do it. You just get it done because you have to.
That might, I feel like that's got to play into my procrastination a little bit. I'm a procrastinator, so I'm like, I work better in 10 minutes than I do with 2 days to do something. So
yeah, exactly. I think they say if you want something done, give it to a busy person to do, or give it to a busy mum to do.
Yeah.
And they'll just get it done.
Yeah,
they'll fit it
done.
into the rest
out of the way, done. Yeah.
Workload.
So, as you head into, your business is changing and your life is changing, what does setting goals for the future look like for a business like yours? Do you write them down? Do you meet with a group and talk to everybody about them?
So I've got lots of dream projects and goals and things that I have wanted to do for ages. So in general, I have a sort of master document that I always work from, that rather than calling it to-do list, I always call it a business goals action plan or something.
Yeah, I like it.
Business, yeah, I think that's what it's called. So then it's to always remind myself that whatever I'm doing, it is supposed to be pushing the business forward and meeting goals, rather than just sort of, wasting time doing like mindless admin and things that aren't really, or, someone else's agenda, things that aren't really important. And then I have at the top, I have all the sort of immediate things that I need to do to meet our goals. And then on the next page, I have sort of future goals and ideas and projects that I want to do next. So then once things clear on whatever I'm working on, I then look at the next things and sort of prioritize based on what feels right for the business, or I'll do like a forecast and work out, is this actually going to make any money? Is it worth doing? Yeah.
I love it.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. It does. I'm getting very much into the goal setting and being much more meticulous about to-do lists. So I've been asking lots about that recently. So I know you have an adorable little one that you've got to go feed and care for. So why don't we head into the 3 Creative Women's League musts? Okay, so the first one is, what is one thing every badass woman should read, watch, listen to, whatever?
Okay, so something I've been thinking about a lot recently is a book that I read a while ago called Blue Ocean Strategy. And I can't remember off the top of my head who it's by, but I'm sure you can look it up. And basically, have you read it?
I have not read it. I haven't even heard of it.
So apparently it's a really famous book, but basically the essence of it is that rather than fighting it out with your competitors and create like sharks creating this sort of bloodied ocean, you should find the blue pocket of ocean, which means you should take a different approach to what you do, or tap into a new market and basically make the competition irrelevant. So I just think it's really important to, I guess another way of putting it is to say, like, stay in your own lane, stop looking at what everyone else is doing and trying to sort of compete with them, and think about how can you make what you're doing so different that it makes the competition irrelevant.
I love
so
that.
For example, that I don't know if you do because I've been to one in Chicago. You've got Lush over there.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so they've got spas over here, Lush spas.
Oh yeah,
in some of their shops, and I went to one the other day, and it's just what they do. I was thinking about their business strategy while I'm having my massage, very relaxing. But but what they do is just so different to any other spa that you just can't compare it. They add, I'm not going to explain too much because if you go, you'll find out. It's like every treatment has this sort of extra magical element, and just the whole experience is so different from going to another spa that you just would never think of comparing it to like going to Dermalogica or Elemis or anything like that. It's completely different. So that's my recommendation, Blue Ocean Strategy.
I love that, especially since we did talk a little bit about channeling that comparison kind of thing that we all do to ourselves. It's like differentiate, then you got it. I like it. I'm going to read that one. I'm definitely going to read that one. So then the next one is, who is one woman we should all go follow right now?
Okay, so this is a friend of mine, actually. She's called Amber Butchart. So on Instagram, she is Amber, AMBR BUTCHART. And she's a fashion historian. She's also an author. She writes lots of books about fashion history, but she's also a DJ. She used to be head buyer at a big vintage shop over here called Beyond Retro, and she started doing presenting TV programs and radio programs, and she's one of those people who is just so unafraid to be herself. She just dresses in the most eccentric way. She's got this incredibly distinctive style. You couldn't compare her to anyone else. She wears really kind of wild clothes, and I just think, she's just really inspiring that she's just completely herself, but she's also so successful, but she's also so nice. Like, she's got no ego. She's so down to earth and just sweet and lovely. And I just think she's amazing. I
love it. Okay, perfect. I love authenticity, so I'm signed up. I'm good. Ready to go.
Authentic. I should have said that. She's extremely authentic.
Yes. I say it all the time on here. It's a thing I saw on a bag somewhere in this little shop, but it said authenticity is magnetic. And that's my quote for everything, because it's like that. You can be yourself, go for it, and the rest will follow.
Yeah, that is so right. Definitely. And actually, you've just reminded me that authenticity, I think, was my word of the year I decided to actually do my business properly.
I love that.
I just thought I really want to just do something that I feel is really me, and be authentic while doing it, and
perfect
feel myself while doing my own thing.
Yes. Well, it definitely comes through with everything you do, just so you know. It comes through. And then last but not least, what is one mantra, quote, or affirmation that you lean on often?
So this is actually related to what we were just talking about, but what I've been saying to myself quite a lot this year is don't hold back. So just that idea of just, be the person you want to be, design the life you want to live. Don't play it safe. You only get one life, so you should really go for it. And if you want to get that haircut you've been dreaming of, get that haircut. If you want to wear really bold earrings, do that. If you want to paint your front door yellow, paint your front door yellow. Just don't hold back. Just go for it.
I love that. I just recently did one of our Mindful Mondays about something similar, because I'm always that kind of person who will ask for permission first. And I was like, forget that. I saw all these other people getting what they wanted because they were willing to go for it and then ask for forgiveness if they needed to. So it's like, I'm going to do that too. I love it. Well, Tilly, this has been so much fun. We got off to a real weird start, but it's all pulled through.
with the technology.
Yes. No, not us. We were best friends from
We just, got
and this thunderstorm, it is now hailing outside. So I think we're wrapping up at the perfect time. So,
oh no.
Yeah. So before you go, can you let everybody know where to find you?
Yeah, sure. So on social media, the best place to find me is on Instagram, and it's at Tilly Buttons. So TILLYBUTTONS. We're also on Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook. And then my blog is tillyandthebuttons.com, and all my patterns, books and workshops can be found at shop.tillyandthebuttons.com.
Thank you so much. I am going to go have you teach me how to sew clothes via one of those workshops. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm going to do
Join us.
Right, I'm going to join the cult of seamstresses. I'm determined to. So
I mean, if you quilt, you'll be amazing at it. You'll probably be better than me.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm just going to say, yeah, I'm going to be amazing at it. Yeah. That's it. Thank you so much, Tilly. It has been wonderful.
Thanks for having me, Kate. Bye.
Isn't she wonderful? I just loved it. I really did. And how inspiring. You know, if you're a creative entrepreneur right now and it's just you, keep moving, keep going. One day you could have employees and a full-fledged badass business. It's in the cards for you. Thanks so much for putting up with my sultry voice today. My voice changes depending on how bad the allergies are in Orlando, and they must be terrible today. So thank you. Let's recap, shall we? Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or Podbean, wherever you are listening, so you don't miss an episode. Write a review on iTunes. Don't forget to include your Instagram name so that I can give you a shout out right here. Follow us on Instagram at Creative Women's League. And last but not least, head over to Facebook and join the Creative Women's League group so we can keep the discussion going and the support, more importantly, the support going all week long. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I will see you Monday for another episode. I love you so much. I really do. Thanks, guys. You're still here? It's over. Go home.